जिंदा खुदा से दिल जो लगाते तो खूब था।
जिंदा खुदा से दिल जो लगाते तो खूब था।
मुर्दा बुतों से जान, मुर्दा बुतों से जान छुड़ाते तो खूब था।
Assalamu alaikum. So let's begin. Please request Sabahat Aman Ahmed for Tilawat, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, Star.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم. الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله ثم لا يتبعون ما أنفقوا منا ولا أذى لهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. The translation of the verses recited before you is as follows. I seek refuge with Allah from Satan the accursed. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, ever merciful. The similitude of those who spend their wealth for the cause of Allah is like the similitude of a grain of corn, which grows 7 ears, in each ear 100 grains, and Allah multiplies it further for whomsoever He pleases. And Allah is bountiful, all-knowing. They who spend their wealth for the cause of Allah, then follow not up what they have spent with taunt or injury. For them is their reward with their Lord, and they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. Jazakallah.
Okay, Jazakumullah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Amma ba'du, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Right, the subject that we've chosen today is what are the benefits of financial sacrifices? Now, the reason for this subject is that there is an objection sometimes, not often, thankfully, but sometimes people complain that we are paying too much chanda. It just seems that the Jamaat is taking people's money and it's not good. So, therefore, why should we be making these financial sacrifices? So, this is why we've chosen the topic that what are the benefits of financial sacrifices? The Holy Quran relates, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ شَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِهِ عَلِيمٌ. You cannot attain to righteousness unless you spend out of that which you love. And whatever you spend, Allah surely knows it well. Now, this verse, which is from chapter 3, verse 93, explains the importance of attaining righteousness, and that is through sacrifice. But we should understand, what is a sacrifice? A true sacrifice is one when you're spending out that thing which you love. It means that you don't really want to sacrifice it. You love it after all. You want to keep it. But despite that pull to keep it, you've decided to sacrifice it. That is a true sacrifice, what Allah wants. One that is done for winning the pleasure of Allah, no matter how much you need or want it. Now, the fact is that whenever Allah showers His people with His blessings and His grace, it normally requires a sacrifice on their part. Therefore, the more one sacrifices in the way of Allah, the more blessings he can attain. Now, of course, we understand that a person's sacrifice differs according to that person's condition. After all, what would be a huge amount for a poor person will be pittance for a rich person. So therefore, Allah deals with each person's sacrifice differently, according to the circumstances. Now, this has been explained by a hadith of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who has said that 1 dirham has excelled 100,000 dirhams. Now, of course, dirham was the currency in the time of Arabia in those days. Now, what it means is that if, let's say, a person has 2 dirhams, and he gave one of those dirhams in the way of Allah, whilst a millionaire gave 100,000 dirhams. But in comparison, his 100,000 dirhams are lesser in proportion of the total worth of the person who was given 1 dirham out of 2 dirhams. Now, of course, during the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, we see that a sacrifice normally related more to one's life rather than one's wealth. This was because the Muslims were constantly having to fight in the way of Allah. But of course, they still needed weapons, etc. And so therefore, the Holy Prophet Muhammad used to ask his companions to make financial sacrifices as well. And we can see many examples of this. For instance, especially Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman. They all understood the importance of financial sacrifice, and they strove to give as much as possible, believing that Allah will keep showering them with His abundant blessings. Now, of course, I think we all know about the incident of Hazrat Umar, who made a huge sacrifice and gave away half of his wealth, only to discover that Hazrat Abu Bakr had given all that he owned. So when we think about those times of the Holy Prophet, the society that he lived in, their barbaric ways, but when he came, he changed those people, and through their sacrifices, the blessings of Allah shone on them, and that whole society changed from being barbaric to being blessed. So we see that Holy Prophet Muhammad kept drilling into them the importance of sacrifice, of putting Allah first, of constantly striving to win Allah's blessings and nearness, of striving to win paradise. Now, another example of these blessings has been given by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who has said, "A generous one is nearer to Allah, nearer to the people, nearer to paradise, and further away from hell. But a miser is farther from Allah, farther from his people, farther from paradise, but nearer to hell. Indeed, an ignorant one who is generous is dearer to Allah than a worshipper who is miserly." Right. Now, when you are doing sacrifices, this is what you should be keeping in your mind, especially this hadith. And think about why. Why do you want to deprive yourselves of the blessings of Allah? Of course, we don't really know what your real condition is. Only Allah knows that. But at this time, with this coronavirus, which has hit everyone, anyone who's struggling in their business, this is actually the time when you need Allah. Therefore, you should be making good sacrifices. If you do that, Allah will be pleased with you and open many doors for you. But if you feel that by holding on to your money, that in itself will help you get out of those problems, then as you are withholding your money, you should also understand, as this is saying, that you are withholding the opportunity of the blessings of Allah. So the best way out of a financial difficulty that we're finding ourselves in, strangely as it seems, is to spend in the way of Allah and then put your full trust in Allah. If you do that, then Allah will help you. Now, of course, all true believers want to attain paradise. And the best way to achieve that is through sacrifice. The Holy Prophet Muhammad has said, only two persons deserve to be envied. Firstly, a person to whom Allah gave wealth, and he spent it in the cause of truth. And secondly, the person upon whom Allah has bestowed knowledge, wisdom, and insight, by which he then judges between people and teaches them. So it's this reliance on Allah that He will provide for us, that we should not have any fear. Now, these days, of course, we believe that the jihad is by the pen, not by the sword. Therefore, it's mainly financial sacrifices that is needed to publish books, to build mosques, to hold a variety of different meanings, to show the beauty of Islam. This is why the promised Messiah Islam has said, what a blessed time this is. No one is asked to lay down their life. This is not the time for offering the ultimate sacrifice. Rather, it is a time to spend out of one's possessions according to one's means. Again, our beloved Hazur, may Allah always be his helper, has said, in this age of the Messiah, a type of jihad is that of financial sacrifice. This helps with publication of literature in defense of Islam, translation of the Holy Quran in a variety of languages of the world, and then dispatching it to the corners of the earth, and then establishing missions all over the earth, training missionaries to be sent all over the world. Hazur has continued to say that mosques are built with this, as are schools and colleges and hospitals, to serve the suffering humanity. Until such a time that the message of Islam reaches each corner of the earth and to each person in each of that corner, until such a time that each need of the poor and needy is not met, this jihad is to continue, and each Ahmadi has to take part in it according to their capacity. Now, alhamdulillah, this movement is moving at a tremendous pace. Of course, when we compare it to the world population or even the Muslim population, we are still very, very small in number. And yet, despite this, we managed to achieve so much through building the mosques, the beautiful mosques that we have all over the world, through publishing books, through the MTA, which is being beamed all around the world 24/7, through the variety of different functions that we attend. And this, alhamdulillah, has all been due to the sacrifices that the members have made, and then, of course, the subsequent blessings from Allah. But we still have a long way to go. Therefore, more and more sacrifices are needed, because the more the Jamaat progresses, the more is a need of the Jamaat. It's for this reason that the Jamaat appeals to the members to make financial sacrifice, that through their sacrifices, the Jamaat can achieve so much. The Holy Prophet Muhammad has advised us, spend with open hand, Allah will spend upon thee. Now, when an Ahmadi makes these sacrifices with the understanding of their importance, and then he witnesses firsthand how Allah has blessed him in return, This in turn strengthens his faith with these sacrifices that he's making, and strengthens his belief in the existence of God and in the truth of Islam and the promised Messiah, alayhi salam. Again, the promised Messiah, alayhi salam, has said, "It is now the time for all those who count themselves amongst my followers that they should help this movement with their money. If someone can only afford 1 paisa, he should pay 1 paisa each month for the requirement of the movement. He who can afford a rupee should offer a rupee each month. Everyone who has accepted the bayat should help according to his means, so that Allah too should help them. If the assistance is received regularly each month, even if it is minor, it is better than that which is made upon the impulse after a long time of negligence. Every person's sincerity can only be judged by the services he offers." He continues that, "Oh, my dear ones, this is the time for helping the faith and fulfilling its requirement. Make use of it, for this time will never return." I will conclude with some words from our blessed Khalifa, who may Allah always be his helper, who has said that today, when Islam is being attacked from all sides, and the community of the promised Messiah alayhi salam has been raised through his means to present the conclusive arguments and proofs, we should be attentive towards financial sacrifice. Otherwise, we would be those who are destroyed and would be deprived of serving faith. And being deprived of serving faith is indeed destruction. So, as for those who say that we're being asked to give too much chanda, and it's taking people's money away, then I will finish with a recent comment, which I found in last week's Al-Hakam newspaper. And mashallah, it's a very good newspaper. You should always be trying to read this. It said, "Some may argue that momentary sacrifice are not at all difficult for affluent people, and that this is a trial for the poor who have nothing to eat. But in examples given of the companions of the Holy Prophet, you will find that both the rich and the poor equally make extraordinary sacrifices. Some others may argue that it is not burdensome for one who already lives in impoverished circumstances to give in charity, and that in fact is only a challenge for those whose needs are extended and who, due to being used to comfort and luxury, cannot live in hardship. The reality is that making sacrifices is neither dependent on wealth, nor is it a result of poverty and deprivation. It is associated with the faith of a person. Neither poverty nor affluence can hinder such a one from offering sacrifices who is enlightened with the light of faith." So this was a lovely article which I read it, and it's entitled "Sacrifice for the Cause of Islam," and it's taken from Al-Hakam on the 18th of December 2020. So may Allah enable us to keep striving to make financial sacrifices, and may He reward us for those sacrifices. Ameen. Right, okay, so as usual now, I'll give you an opportunity to make any comments, any questions that you want to ask, either, as you know, through the chat, or if you want to raise your hand or just speak, it's up to yourselves. So now, please, it's your chance to ask any questions or make any comments. Is there anything on the chats?
Assalamu alaikum, Rusab. There's nothing on the chat at the moment.
Right, okay. Well, this is unusual. No one's got anything they want to say? Does everybody feel that anyone feel that they're paying too much chanda? And why is the Jamaat keep demanding chandas from you? Does anybody feel like that? Okay, does everyone understand then the importance of making these sacrifices? No one's got anything to say?
Assalamu alaikum, Rabi Sahib. It's
Welcome, sir.
okay. Just want to share one experience, Rabi Sahib. Basically, it's a tabligh type of thing. So, in my office, I was discussing with my boss, and there was a colleague as well. And I've told them that this is, in term of percentage, I've told them that I'm paying this much in as a chanda as a doing financial sacrifice for the propagation of Islam and supporting to spread the real message of Islam. So they were quite astonished, and the conversation has started, and then I've tell them I've told the further details of Jamaat and other things. So I think it's a best way to do the tabligh as well, by telling them non-Muslims especially then how much we are contributing and what is because financial sacrifice is a real challenge nowadays, and if you are doing that, then you can do tabligh through that way as well.
I mean, this is one of the beauties. A lot of English people want to give, but they're unsure. Is it really going to where it's meant to go? You take these big charities. We work hand in hand, obviously, with Save the Children, many of these big charities. But what happens there in these big charities that every pound you give, only a small portion actually goes where it's meant to go. Majority of it is eaten up on administration. The people are paid money. Whereas with our charities, all the money goes where it's meant to go. A very small amounts will go obviously on other things, but majority of the pound, let's say, will go to where it is. And this is what I often tell these charities when we're talking about giving humanity first and things like this, that this is how we swallow up the administration costs. For instance, if we're doing a charity walk, then the administration costs is borne by the Ansar Qadam, whoever's raising the walk. The money that you're raising, that goes where it's meant to go. This is something which is surprising for them. But you see that when you get these sort of things like Save the Children, not Save the Children, what is this charity thing that comes every year? Putzi Bear, I can't remember what it's called now. But anyway, when they ever get these sorts of things, then there's an opportunity for them to give. They normally don't have that opportunity to give. Whereas, alhamdulillah, the Jamaat has the opportunity. But not only has the opportunity, you see where it goes. You see the mosque being built. You see all the books that we give at such a ridiculous price. Often when I was in Birmingham, I used to go to the bookshops in Birmingham. They've got some very good bookshops. But the prices of books in those shops compared to our books is ridiculous. So this is the thing. Now, when we give money to a mosque, I remember when I was in Bradford, it took 10 years for a mosque to be built because every time they collected money, the person ran off and went on holiday with their money. And so they could never finish it off. But with our mosque, alhamdulillah, we see how it's developing, building, and then finally gets finished. So this is the beauty of the Jamaat, that it's very open. It shows where all the money is going, how it's being spent. But as I said, as we progress, so the need is more. I remember a time when the previous Amir, Aftab Ahmed Khan, he was so happy because we had reached £1 million in the UK. This was our budget that we reached £1 million. He was so much joyful. Nowadays, the budget is about 17 to 18 million pounds. So as we progress, so our need is much more. But we are benefiting from that. Again, if you look at the London Mosque, which was donated by the Lajna in India in those days, but you're the people that benefit from the London Mosque now. And it's the same with the Battle for Tour, that you be your children and your children's children who's going to be benefiting from that. So this is where the money goes, and we see where the money is going. And alhamdulillah, this is again a joy that not only we get the blessings from Allah and the closeness of winning Allah's blessings and pleasure, but we also benefit from sacrifices and see how others are benefiting from it. Okay, anybody else got anything to say?
Assalamualaikum, Reb Sahab. I got a question here. The question is, we give chanda for Justice Lana and Ishtamas, but they're not being held this year due to circumstances. Where will that money go instead?
Right. Well, we had a show just recently, and again, this was raised at that time as well, that what's happening to the Joseph Lana money, and it will go on to next year. So, inshallah, if we can get to hold a Joseph Lana next year, then the money will go towards that. It will not be wasted. This is again another thing, that when you pay towards a Birmingham mosque or Hartlepool mosque or whatever mosque, it will be used for that. Whether it's used there and then, there may be other projects and things, but it will be used there. They can't take that money and use it for something else. So the money that you give for Joseph Slana will be used for Joseph Slana. And of course, we got to realize again, Joseph Slana costs so much. We don't cover half the cost. So we have to rely actually on other countries' sacrifices for our Joseph Slana because of the cost of Joseph Slana. So hopefully next year we'll be able to spend more of our own money on the Joseph Slana. And of course, everyone will benefit if there is a Joseph Slana next year. If not, whenever the next Joseph Slana will be. Any other questions or any comments, or anybody want to give their experience of sacrifice? Okay, so I think you seem to be very satisfied today with the topics. Okay, if no one's got anything else to say, we'll finish it there. So again, if anybody's got any subject that they want to have discussed, please contact us, and inshallah, we will think about that and try to do that subject. As we had this particular subject was brought up, that this was an objection that some people, not many people, thankfully, most people understand, but some people, they do raise these sort of questions. So that's not a problem. The good thing about the Jamaat is that we will always be open and try to answer whatever questions are raised. Okay, so if no one's got anything else to say, we'll finish it there with silent prayer. Last chance. Okay, then please join me in silent prayer. Bismillah. Ameen. Okay, Assalamu alaikum.